You can grab a piece of food of any kind, fruit or a nut or chocolate or chips or cookie, whatever that is for you. I'll be doing some initial just background talking around why we are, moving into stressful eating and emotional eating during current times, and then how mindful eating can help with that. So, as you all may know, it's not easy to be sheltered in during a pandemic, which is what we all are experiencing right now. And when we are restricted into one space and confined, we definitely feel stressed. That's something. It's a big change in our life, and the stress definitely impacts us in a way. And so the two major hazards of being sheltered in during pandemic, from my perspective, are two S's. One is you are likely to snack more, so snacking, and the second is sedentary lifestyle. So because we are confined within our homes, we are, our activity level is down, so we are more sedentary. When we are working, we are sitting hours on the desk, working. And then what we know is that boredom and stress are the two risk factors that, drive the snacking. So, even if we are trying to maybe work all day, or some of us maybe are working, inside the house, taking care of the family, even within that, after a while, if we are unable to do our other routine things like stepping out, the boredom does strike. And when we are bored, we try to, our brain naturally tries to look for some comfort. And a lot of the times that comfort comes from, looking for actually more calorie rich foods. In general, when we eat more calorie rich foods than nutritionally rich foods, we are more comforted. And so that's what, we tend to go towards. And then coming to the factor of stress, the stress, of being in a change, a stress of under uncertain times like this, where we are not sure how long this is going to be the case, certainly, affects our body. Now, the interesting thing is that, our emotional brain, which is our primitive brain, does not differentiate between the kinds of stress we have. It reacts the same way to any small, minor stress or change, similar to any bigger stress or change. So, for instance, if we have something really scary and dangerous coming towards us, like a lion or tiger walking towards me, my emotional brain will give my, stress hormones, the gland that secretes the stress hormones, to fire those stress hormones to ready to fight or flight. But like I said, it is so in tune to give that signal. It doesn't differentiate between the threat, whether it's a real threat or it's a minor threat. So any type of stressful stimulus, whether it is a big versus a small stimulus, gives our emotional brain the same signal as something is off, something is scary, something is stressful, something is fearful. And so it signals the glands in our brain to secrete the stress hormones, the cortisol. And then that, is the way to start that fight-flight cascade in our body. So when cortisol is released, it releases other derivatives of stress hormones like adrenaline that indicate our hearts to pump fast, so we can, supply a lot more blood supply to our arms and leg muscles, which is what we need to fight or flight. Similarly, the lung gets the signal to breathe heavily, so oxygen is supplied to the muscles of arms and legs. Our stomachs may feel queasy because the blood supply from stomach is diverted to the arms and leg muscles. Sometimes people experience feeling a little bit dizzy if they're under extreme stress and panic. That's kind of what our body is doing to prepare us for fight or flight. Now, when it is a minor stimulus, of course, we are not feeling that level of physical sensations or panic quite yet in our body. But in a subtle level, even that minor stress is releasing those stress hormones to lesser extent and not as intense cascade of fight flight is initiated. But one way our brain deals with that fight or flight to cope with that is also to find a way of comforting ourselves. And a lot of the times, again, we draw towards food as a source of comfort, and emotional eating becomes as a way to kind of calm ourselves down, to distract ourselves from that thing that maybe we are worrying about. And so in stressful times like these, when we are at a little bit higher risk for snacking and eating more, and then of course we know the consequence of eating more and having a sedentary lifestyle, so I wouldn't get into that. So what we know from research is that one way to tackle that extra snacking or some breakthrough we can have with avoiding that is by practicing mindful eating. And I will of course walk you through an exercise that we all will be doing. So for those of you who just joined, if you don't have a piece of food of any kind, I would request you to gather that before we start that exercise. So it could be a piece of fruit, a food of any kind, a nut, chocolate, cookie, kids are sitting with you, a small piece of chips or whatever that might be accessible for you. So what does mindful eating mean? So coming back to our original kind of definition of mindfulness is basically nothing but bringing your kind and curious attention to the present moment, to here and now. So essentially bringing your attention to whatever you're doing in that moment, whether it is listening, talking, eating, walking, singing, dancing, whatever that activity or task you might be doing. And basically you're being in that here and now, and you are trying to be curious and kind about what's going on, and then that allows us to choose the next right response or behavior. So that's the fundamental description of what mindfulness means. For the sake of the mindful eating exercise, I think what it focuses on is like, let's be in this moment of eating and enjoying the food that we are having to have fully, by fully being there 100%. Okay, so I will walk you through the exercise and you will understand how it actually helps, and we will certainly do a little bit of a reflection on how that practice was for you guys. And if time allows, we can do some stretching, practicing mindful stretching to combat the sedentary lifestyle that we are in right now. Okay, so is everyone ready with a piece of food in their hand? So what I chose was a grape. I have a small grape, and what I would like to do is, focus on, imagine that you're actually having this, you're seeing this food, or you're going to have this food for the very first time. Of course, you've eaten it before, but just for a moment, pretend that this is a food you've never had or never seen, and you're being really kind and curious about what this is going to be like today. Okay, so really looking at the shape of the food, the color of the food, the texture. Maybe even roll it between your fingers and see if you can notice any kind of texture. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it slimy? Is it smooth? Whatever it might be, just make a note of that. If your mind wanders, bring your attention back to this piece of food in your hand. Now we can also maybe focus on what does it feel like? What's the temperature like? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it maybe at the room temperature, or there is no temperature change that you're noticing in your particular food? And taking a moment looking at this food in your hand and imagining how it's going to taste today. Is it going to taste sweet or sour, bitter? Taking a moment also to appreciate how you got this food in your hand today. Thinking about all the people who were involved in getting this piece of food in your hand today. Right from the farmers who harvested this for you, to all the people who helped package it, bring it to the stores, and then you able to pick it up and get it to your home and your hand. Taking a moment to express your loving kindness towards them and gratitude for having this food today on your plate or in your hand. Now, let's bring it closer to your nose and see if there is any kind of aroma or smell to the food you are about to eat. Maybe there's no smell. Maybe it has a savory smell. Maybe it has a sweet smell. And now, bringing it to your lips and having a first small bite very mindfully, distracting stimuli around you need to be ignored. Bring your attention back to this food that you're about to take the first bite of. Notice the texture of the food as you're biting on it. Is it crunchy? Is it smooth? Is it soft? Maybe you notice some juices melting away in your mouth, spreading the taste all over on your taste buds on the tongue. Relishing the flavor and the taste of the food. Continuing another bite. And staying in this moment, bringing your kind and curious attention to the taste of the food you are appreciating right now in your mouth. And as you continue to eat and notice the flavor, the taste, take a moment to also think about the nutrition that you're going to get from this food, how that sustains your body, how it helps you to carry out your day-to-day tasks. Being grateful again for having this moment to get the nutrition that your body deserves. Mindful eating also means you're eating away from your devices, not watching television while eating your food, not putting your phone on while watching a video while eating. It's a moment of giving your 100% kind and curious attention to the food you're eating. Mindful eating has been shown to be very beneficial for various things in medical research. It has been very helpful for binge eating disorder. A lot of the times, people who end up having issues with eating food in big bulk and binges, there's been studies showing mindful eating actually helping them get over that problem. Mindful eating also helps us with early satiety, which basically means if you practice mindful eating, you will notice being full earlier than if you don't practice it. So it helps with portion control. It helps with weight loss. Mindful eating also allows you to be more aware of what else is going on in your body, because you're taking a moment to focus on the food and you're focusing on you, so you are able to notice what is going on right now. What am I thinking? How are my feelings? And then sometimes you may become aware that maybe you need to process your feelings differently and not by eating. That awareness helps you to not eat and soothe yourself just by eating. It helps you realize that food is necessary for nutrition, but not for emotional comfort. And if you become aware of your feeling stressed or dealing with a particular situation which is bringing up a lot of emotions and you're looking for comfort, you can find other ways to deal with it. Like we did a couple practices in the last few days. Specifically yesterday, we talked about how we can deal with our difficult feelings at times, how we can express them differently by different outlets. So all of this can be pretty helpful to combat the boredom and stress and not go on path of emotional eating.